Hi there, this is Pete Miller and welcome to the Thai Language Student Blog, sponsored by Chiang Mai Kondo. I've just spent the last 30 days of September 2021 doing the 30 lessons of 30 minutes each of the Pimsleur Thai Level 1 Beginners course. So here's my review of the whole 15 hours with a list of language learning tips at the end to make your Thai language progress really fast. Besides having no paper and no books to carry around, and a scientifically proven learning method, which I'll explain soon, the biggest advantage Pimsleur has over the other programs is the neat structure of 30 minutes every day for 30 days because, well, you can listen to the program at any time during the day. The schedule is not determined by, say, your teacher's availability. And this is a huge bonus because, well, on some days, stuff gets in the way, you need to put out the fire, and you can't study at the same time each day. It's just not possible. And if you're at a language school, for instance, and you couldn't make the prearranged time, you'd have to reschedule, or you miss out on the lesson completely if you're in a group. And this would really crush the enormous power of day-to-day consistency, which is vital when you're building muscle memory in your mouth. Oh, too many M's. This 30 by 30 1-month schedule is like a cool timetable where you can see the start and you can also see the finish. And in my head, that makes the process very manageable, very doable. On day 20, I can see that I only have 10 more days to go and I've got a much better chance of finishing the course. So firstly, Pimsleur gives you a very flexible but solid structure. And secondly, the audio. Well, that's very well recorded, as it should be for a language program where it's all about sound. And they use really crystal clear male and female Thai speakers, plus an American guy. He's a narrator with an awesome honey voice. Take a listen.
In the next few minutes, you will learn not only to understand this conversation, but also to take part in it yourself. Imagine that an American man is sitting next to a Thai woman on a bus in Bangkok. He wants to begin a conversation, so he says, "Excuse me."
ขอโทษครับ
The Thai speaker is going to repeat this expression, part by part, starting from the end. You are to repeat each part after him, trying to make your pronunciation sound like his. Be sure you repeat aloud.
Each day, the narrator introduces new storylines with new expressions around everyday activities like meeting people, telling the time, going to a restaurant, ordering and paying for food and for drinks. And while your brain and your mouth is searching for the right answer from what you've learned from the previous days, thankfully there's just a few seconds gap of silence until the Thai speakers reply.
Ask the woman, "Do you understand?"
คุณเข้าใจไหมครับ
Now, this method of training your ear to hear was first pioneered by a guy called Paul Pimsleur, who discovered how much time it takes for people to remember and then recall new groups of words, and how long it was before they needed to be reminded again, before the new phrases were forgotten. So it's a pretty clever program, actually, very based on his research many years ago. So it's all about intervals and the most effective way for the brain to absorb and then remember and then recall information. And thankfully, Pimsleur warns you, hey, you've only got to get 80% correct.
Don't worry if you haven't responded correctly each time. All that you have learned here will be reviewed in future units. If you've mastered about 80% of the material in this lesson, you're ready to move on to the next.
Here's a nice little tip. If you want to 10x your progress, listen to each day's lesson, not just once, but a few times, maybe the morning and the evening. And you'll notice that 80% becomes 90%. Pimsleur points out in this neat little ebook called 16 Tricks that it's not about shooting for perfection, but your goal should be 1, to recognize the different sounds of the new language, and 2, avoid speaking the language with a strange accent. So fluency comes much later. And this link to the 16 Tricks ebook from Pimsleur I'll put in the description below, okay? Finally, Pimsleur handles the subject of Thai tones in a very simple way. You just have to exactly imitate the way the sound is said and has been recorded.
Both of those tones are high.
ไหมครับ
Ask the woman, "Do you understand?" Did you have high tones on the last two words? Ask her again if she understands.
And one other thing that Pimsleur handles well is separating the polite endings with a male Thai speaker saying krap and the female ending her sentences with ka. Some of the other programs I've tried really mix this all up and it's very confusing, but Pimsleur gets it right. So let's wrap up here now, and here are my tips to guarantee success with Pimsleur or in fact any language program. Number 1, start lesson 1 on the first day of the month so you easily know which day you're up to, and it keeps you on track to complete the whole course. Now, use AirPods or headphones rather than your device speakers so you hear closely what's being said. It's really important, makes a big difference. And give yourself a decent chance and block out 30 minutes of time each and every day, just for 1 month. I like the mornings upstairs myself and on my slant board in the evenings. And close your eyes, and this really helps your concentration and helps you to imagine the scenes that the narrator is speaking about in Bangkok and Chiang Mai. And use a separate audio player like an old iPhone like this one, rather than your main phone, so you don't get any notifications.
Leave your phone alone.
And finally, before each lesson, revise the phrases from the day before. I actually wrote down the English words myself so I could test myself during the day. And I'll put those English words into the description below, okay? So, look, remember, hey, go easy on yourself. Learning a language is like learning a musical instrument. It takes hundreds, if not thousands of hours of self-discipline. So at the end of each session, give yourself a little reward like a coffee or a chocolate or a pat on the back or a high five. You're doing a good job there. And the Pimsleur program, it does work. I can recommend it. I mean, I live in a small village in northern Thailand. I'm the only Farang here, the only Western person. No one else speaks English, so I know for sure if I'm making an impact. And this month, I hit a few home runs, which is pretty satisfying. And now, being the 1st of October tomorrow, I may start the program again for 1 month, or I'll begin the 20 reading and writing units that accompany the full package. However, you can buy the program in 5 units of each and spread out the payments that way. So, on behalf of the Chiang Mai Condo, this is Pete Miller wishing you a ton of success with speaking Thai. Bye for now. Pop Gan Mai.